Yes, that's good.
Guess I'm not gonna get hold my computer if I use the one. Maybe.
Just shave it tighter, it'll be fine.
Okay. Couldn't get in yesterday.
I got IT here.
We need some password update, I think.
All right, being 6 o'clock, we'll call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
With liberty and justice.
So I'm going to welcome to our first 6 o'clock meeting. Everyone, looks like we even have better attendance. Maybe it's an indication that 6 o'clock works. We'll find out, I guess. Anyway, I'm switching the agenda for everyone's notification. I'm going to move the action items above the presentations. Lucinda DeNovo is going to be virtual along with Sarah Stevens, and Carmen will not be attending this evening. But for some of our counselors to participate on the action items, we're going to go first. So the first action item is appointments to the Coos Bay North Bend Water Board, and we have a ballot in front of us. Oh, I just skipped everything. All right, I apologize. Public comment still comes first. So this would be time to come forth and make a comment, preferably on something that's not on the agenda, but if that's still want to mention it, then we probably would not address you at that time. So any comment, public comment? James, you're waiting to jump up, and so is Beth. I don't know who's going to be first.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Look at someone taller than me was here. My name is Beth Clarkson, and I am here representing my business, Checkerberry Slaughters and Gifts in Coos Bay. And I'm not here to complain to the city about your recent debacle. I won't call it a debacle. You had a road construction problem with the sewer, and we had to make some adjustments with the road, which caused some congestion and people having a hard time getting into the Coos Bay Village. If you were coming from the north, you had to drive all the way down to the visitor center, turn around in the parking lot at the visitor center to come all the way back up to make a turn to get into the village. And if you didn't know that, or you just didn't want to take the time to do that, you didn't come in. I estimated I lost about 25% of my walk-in traffic for Valentine's Day. Like I said, I'm not here to blame the city. I went down the channel, or up the channels, I should say. Talked to Knife River. I talked to the city. I talked to Jim Hosley. I ended up talking with Greg. And everybody was really nice about and compassionate about my problem. But there seemed to be no solution as to this was just how it was. So what I'm asking the city is, if I wish that you never to have this problem again.
We do too.
But if that problem happens again, I don't know. I understand we have to go to ODOT and have them make a change. I did not see why they couldn't have they stopped all the traffic to let cross traffic go. It seemed like it would be natural to let left turn traffic go at that time as well. And like I said, I know it's not the city's problem. It was an ODOT solution, but I'm hoping that the city can at least talk to ODOT about a new plan, if this is a plan that they haven't, that they just have when this happens, or if this was, a hurry up plan. I don't know how that transpired, how the traffic was, but just that consideration would have been a little bit nicer. So that's my only. Like I said, I'm not here to complain. I'm just here to hope that we can make a better solution if this ever was to happen again.
Agree. So is there something, can we send a letter to ODOT and saying next time, hopefully it's not next time, but
They were certainly advised of concerns from the merchants, because we did get other concerns.
so we did get them the information.
Fortunately, this does not happen very often. This is the only time I remember in my 33 years with the city that this has happened when it wasn't a parade.
Right.
It's fairly rare, but ODOT does control this. It's their highway. In my understanding, they made these decisions based off advice from traffic engineers, mostly out of safety for the motorists.
Okay. Well, no, it didn't make sense. I understand what you're saying, because they had flaggers at all 4 stops there, and
They
I
did.
understand. You're right.
I mean, and it wasn't just my business that was impacted.
No.
Up and down the road, it was impacted. But it just seemed like an easy fix that couldn't be fixed. So that, like I said, not here to complain. But hopefully maybe we can work towards a better resolve for that.
No, I agree. I mean, I was down there daily. I walk and everything else.
Well,
down
especially
there.
when it took a
And-
week. I mean,
yeah.
it started out, it was just going to be a weekend, and then
And then it kept
it
going.
was a week, and then it's like, okay, it's the next Monday,
Sure.
so it just kept getting worse.
No, I think it could have been better, but unfortunately, you're right. Maybe we can
Anyway,
make a difference.
Like I said, I don't wish that accident to happen
Me
again.
either.
So,
None of us do, I
thank
believe.
you for your time.
All right, Beth. James, you're next. Any other public comments? How's it going?
Hey, it's going good.
Good.
Thank you. Scott Frazier, Cypress Point, Coos Bay. Part of the action items is about the server upgrade, and I'm not here to talk about that, but it just seems a good segue into what I was going to say. I've been in Eastside for about 40 years now, and my wife and I walk all the time down there. The boat ramp's become a problem. There's a lot of graffiti going on down there. We've had people in the middle of the night, especially in the summer, going out there and doing cookies in the parking lot. There's just a lot of traffic, and it's not fishing season. And just different things going on. I wondered if the city could put a couple of cameras up out there.
Weren't we going to put a fence up?
Great question, yes, and good memory. So we were asked by the Eastside Neighborhood Watch to consider putting a gate up there.
Right.
That would be shut in the evening times and opened in the early morning hours, so that it would allow fishermen to be there. Staff is already in progress getting quotes for that, and we'll, once they're installed, we're going to contract out with the same organization that opens and shuts a very similar gate at Talbot's Park.
So we have a security firm that does that. So yes, that's in the works. I'm surprised it's not done, but so it'll be there. It'll be a gate, and they won't be able to get in there.
That would be my next suggestion.
Okay.
I also talked to Officer Lindell before the meeting and questioned him about the cameras at the skate park, and he said they've been down for 2 months. Same with Mingus Park.
The state, yeah, okay.
It'd be great if the server, that was part of the server program.
I'm not sure if it will or not be, Nicole. I don't know. You're doing the presentation on that.
I'm not certain about that, but we can certainly have the conversation with our consultants.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Good seeing you. Any other public comments?
I'm back.
Okay.
I want to say thank you guys because you all are having a work session about the problem,
Right.
alley issue, and y'all have already gravelled a little bit of all the potholes and clear brush. So just want to say thanks this time.
Okay. So I don't know if we can do any much more on that. Roger and I have talked, and, are you willing to financially participate in anything?
I definitely consider it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
'cause
because, that's the only other way I think that anything else can be done.
Yeah.
And so that might be an option.
Yeah, cool. I just
Right.
want to say thanks for what you've done so far.
Appreciate it.
See what we can do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comments? All right. Hearing no other public comments, now we will go to the first action item, appointment to the Coos Bay North Bend Water Board. We have ballots in front of us. Stephanie, on voting.
I wanted to declare a potential conflict of interest or at least a concern.
Yeah, there's not a conflict, I believe, but we have Nate here to go ahead and explain the process.
Well, why don't you explain the conflict? And
I was just going to say, the conflict is that I am married to one of the candidates.
That's not a true legal conflict in the sense that you don't have any financial gain, or your family doesn't, or business doesn't have financial gain. I understand the concern, but under our local rules, council rules, you'd still have the right to go ahead and vote.
So what we can do, and Roger can kind of correct me here, the council can suspend the rules and allow Stephanie not to vote.
If the
But-
council approves that by majority vote.
Right. I thought it was,
in that
I thought it
case-
had to be unanimous. Majority?
There's two methods here for the council rules. One, the council may be by consensus allow a member not to vote.
Okay.
Your other option is to suspend the council rules, which would require a majority vote.
So by consensus, let's start with the consensus. By consensus, do we agree that Stephanie should not vote for the perception of conflict? Agreed? Agreed. Lucinda and Sarah?
Agreed.
Did I
Agree.
Okay, all right, it's consensus. All right, so therefore,
We're good.
Stephanie will not vote. And there's ballots in front, and you need to fill out the ballot, and then which way is this going? Same, Melissa still gets it. And then Lucinda will text, I think, and Sarah, how would you like to vote? You can text Roger?
There's an email.
Okay, good, all right.
Mr. Mayor, I just text Roger.
Lucinda saying something.
Yeah, she sent me a text, and she was just saying she sent me a text. I've cast her ballot for her text.
Thank you, Roger.
Robert Kilmer has been appointed to the Coos Bay North Bend Water Board.
All right, thank you. Rob Kilmer has been appointed to the water board position. There's two that applied. Dr.
So-
Sharps, thank you very much.
So I would point out that Dr. Sharp's appointment will continue until
Through March, right?
Through the end of March.
Okay. All right. Next action item is the approval of the Brain Injury Awareness Month proclamation. Oh, Rob. Oh, let's do the proclamation. Okay, we'll go back. I'm going to let you run the meeting.
Thank you very much for supporting this and making this really cool thing. My name is Bitten Duggan. Proclamation. Whereas more than 14,000 Oregonians are currently living with long-term effects of a brain injury, and whereas falls are the leading cause of brain-related injuries in Oregon. They can also be the result of childhood trauma, motor vehicle crashes, assault, sports-related injuries, occupational-related injuries, war-related injuries, drug use, or opioid overdoses. And whereas Oregon has at least 1.3 million active military personnel and more than 259,000 veterans residing in the state. Whereas an estimated 1.6 to 3.8 million sports and recreational mild traumatic brain injuries, often called concussions, occur in the United States per year during competitive sports and recreational activities. And traumatic brain injury has been the signature injury of war, presenting new challenges for members of the military and their families in the state. And whereas 30% of sports-related injuries happen among youth 5 to 19 years of age, and because the signs of brain injury are not always well recognized, youth may put themselves at risk for another injury and potentially fatal second impact syndrome. And Whereas there is a large number of mild and moderate traumatic brain injuries that go undiagnosed or untreated. And whereas early and adequate intervention, especially cognitive rehabilitation, will greatly increase the quality of life and enable individuals with brain injury to return to home, school, work, and their communities. And whereas March has been designated as National Brain Injury Awareness Month to promote awareness of the extent, consequences, causes, treatments, and prevention of acquired brain injuries. And whereas the Brain Injury Association of America and Brain Injury Association, actually it's the Brain Injury Alliance of Oregon, are dedicated to raising awareness of brain injury. Now, therefore,
I, Joe Benetti, Mayor of the City of Coos Bay, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Brain Injury Awareness Month in the City of Coos Bay, and commend the observance to all citizens.
thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing this before us, and it's much appreciated.
And we'll do it again next year.
Okay, so Council, I need a motion and a second to approve this, please.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and second to approve the Brain Injury Awareness Month proclamation. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye, we got it. All right, we're jumping around tonight, and I apologize. Anyway, I'm kind of new at this, so I'm having a problem. Number 3 is the consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move that we approve the consent calendar. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Back down here. Public hearing regarding the housing needs analysis. Jim, Carolyn, is she on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead. So you're going to make a
Wonderful.
presentation for
Yes.
us before I open
I
up
have
the
a
public
brief-
hearing?
Yes, I do. I will. I have a few brief comments, and then I'm going to hand off to Jake Callister from LCOG. You're looking tonight in your public hearing at information on the draft 2022 Housing Needs Analysis Update, related comprehensive plan amendments, and preliminary urban growth boundary expansion memo work products. That is all laid out in the staff report before you that was available as of last Friday. The project presentation that Jake will share will include key project features, some public testimony comments received to date, and that'll be contained within a PowerPoint. The project has been grant funded by the Oregon Land Conservation Development Department, and it specifies completion of draft work on these work products to be submitted by May 31st, 2023. And with that, I will hand off to Jake Callister for a PowerPoint presentation, and he'll be driving that.
Thanks, Carolyn. All right,
Certainly.
let's see here. I get some confirmation of that initial screen. You seeing that?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, we're seeing the full screen now, not just, okay. Good evening, everyone. Counselors, appreciate the opportunity to once again come before you. Appreciated the opportunity in late January to have your attention and time as we reviewed, dedicated a work session to the revisit of the 2020 housing needs analysis. What I'm going to do today, because we had that work session, is really just touch on high level, distilled even further sort of the content here. There was great conversation in that work session, and I think a lot of perspectives shared. And so I just want to really, for the sake of the public hearing, provide an overview of some key things here. So I'm going to give a little process context. We're going to look at the amendments that are proposed and the housing needs analysis that is proposed, the changes essentially, and then talk about the UGB expansion memo, which is another piece of the package here. So the Housing Advisory Committee was established to help guide the housing needs analysis. That group met on a number of occasions in the spring of 2022. Planning Commission had a work session in August to review the draft. City Council held a work session in August as well. Shortly after that, Planning Commission had a follow-up public hearing in September and also in January of this year. And of course, the council had a work session January 24th, 2023. A lot of things happened in between, but those were sort of the key decision maker and committee touch points for this project, this update. So key housing needs analysis amendments, really looking at these in comparison to the 2020 housing needs analysis. There were changes in data. There was a new census in 2020, or rather the 2020 census became available. Of course, it comes out a couple of years after 2020 because of the post-processing that they do as part of that. And there were also different circumstances that had evolved, so some changes to some key housing developments that were incorporated into the 2020 analysis. The 2020 buildable lands inventory, which looks at how much land is available over time, it identified 480 acres of buildable land, of residential land, and 79 acres of need for housing over the next 20 years, in 2022. The housing limitations and impact due to natural hazards was less in the 2020 HNA than in the 2022 HNA. So in the 2022 HNA, staff leaned quite a bit more into natural hazards, looking at a few other data sets, adding or proposing to add some other natural hazards which were left out of the Coos Bay Comprehensive Plan to account for things like liquefaction, to strengthen the tsunami language, and to look at things like landslides and slope. The product of that was greatly reducing the amount of buildable lands from 480 acres down to 279 available acres, and then a need of 45.5 acres to accommodate residential development over the next 20 years. The 2022 HNA highlighted a greater need for multifamily housing units as a direct response to affordability dynamics that emerged from the demographic analysis. The HNA connects price points with housing stock, essentially, and says, well, do you have housing that meet this level? The 2020 HNA really did what we thought was an insufficient job of looking at that lower income level. So it really increased the number of multifamily housing units. So that type, when you look at those tables, it really summarized what the needed types are. There's an increased number of multifamily housing units in 2022. The materials that you have been given tonight highlight a few other distinctions. These were sort of key amendments that were updates that we wanted to highlight. Some of the public comments that we heard over that period of time, there was some concern initially about vacancy rates utilized. That was a concern that we addressed and haven't heard anything since about that. Essentially, market rate vacancy rates are not as applicable as the straight vacancy rate in a community when you're doing a housing needs analysis. If something's not being used to house as an occupied unit, you don't want to include that as part of your strategy for housing your future residents. So you really wanted to use, solid housing stock as a way to accommodate and to show a need for new housing. The state is pursuing a new methodology for establishing housing needs. This is something that's very early in its development. But some of the messaging we heard was that the community should wait. If there's something new coming down from the state, then we should hit pause and wait. We'll have some comments about our inquiry to DLCD about how we should proceed here in a moment related to that. There was, despite the efforts to address environmental constraints, there was some concern about whether the plan, whether the strategy, analysis was looking sufficiently at environmental constraints. And in particular, looking a little more aggressively at likely regulatory changes and likely things that might happen relative to rules and policies related to natural hazards. Again, we'll speak to this. We leaned in pretty hard. You saw that number earlier, 480 down to 280 essentially. We really felt like that was something that we pushed quite hard on to address, and so we didn't see as staff ways to lean in too much further to that. There's some concern that the buildable lands inventory didn't take into account market conditions and trends sufficiently. These analyses are things that can be endlessly pursued and investigated, and so we sought DLCD, who's paying for the work, and they're the ones who approve, ultimately acknowledge the work. We inquired to see, how much further do you think we need to lean into this? And their response was essentially that they thought that the HNA was well thought analysis, and that DLC did not believe it necessary for the factual basis the city uses to make HNA BLI decisions to include speculative or even probable changes to financial or insurance regulations. And so, given the scope of our work and the ability to continue that research, we considered that to be adequate. One of the really key points of feedback was some concern about how our UGB expansion memo, we'll describe what the memo is, failed to adequately account for nuances around Coos County's unique urban growth areas. I think the best way to characterize this is that Coos Bay has a pretty problematic boundary foundation, let's say. So the documentation of the history is nuanced, and it creates a bit of a challenge in getting a kind of solid foundation to take next steps. Next steps being things like, let's talk about expanding our UGB. Let's talk about techniques for urban growth management. It kind of calls into question all those assumptions and policy related to that, because there's these kind of outstanding questions. That's not something that our project was scoped to undertake at that scale. And pretty quickly we determined that the urban growth management policies, questions around that really needed to be tabled. The Planning Commission, in fact, provided a recommendation to council that they address that sometime in the near term. It sounds like it's something that's been sort of punted for some time. It's something that really needs to be coordinated and resolved between the county and the city and perhaps other parties. But anything in the materials going forward, and I'll identify them here going forward, that are related to urban growth management appear to be sort of problematic in making definitive decisions about right now. So the HNA itself, there were folks who provided comments, literally marked up the document. We took quite a few of those comments into consideration. We changed the term demand to needs throughout the document. We added some trend clarification and language around that, and made a few other rewording suggestions. The comprehensive plan narrative amendments, these are changes to the narrative. A lot of it is around the natural hazards piece. If you're going to create a restriction, you're going to create essentially you're going to take land out of your buildable lands inventory, you have to have some kind of regulatory backing. And so the proposal is to add some narrative that introduces these new natural hazard concepts, liquefaction, and landslides. The housing section is the section that is essentially being updated. So there's narrative there that gets updated when the comp plan, when the HNA gets adopted or updated. And then this section, urban growth management, there's a big star next to this. And what I've done is throughout here kind of added these stars and charted. These are the urban growth management elements, are the pieces that are kind of on shaky ground. And you'll see with the motions that emerged that these are essentially called out in one scenario as things that probably shouldn't be advanced just because of that dynamic. So some natural hazard policies have been proposed. I think these are the elements that we think as staff are intact, are important. They really move the dial on buildable lands. They're an important step for any housing needs analysis, any future urban growth expansion to be based on. This essentially provides a policy foundation to write development code. There's another one more specific to tsunamis. This is a housing policy that looks at, it's essentially a counterpart to policy 2.4, which says that the city should investigate the expansion of the city's urban growth boundary to address its shortfall of industrial lands. This would be a counterpart for the city. It could be argued that this is tied in with that whole urban growth concept, though. Again, more language that is tied to this urban growth management element. Section 7.9 of the comprehensive plan is really the kind of tip of the spear for this stuff. So anything that's related to 7.9 is something to be mindful of how motions, or at least the Planning Commission's recommendation, came together. More language related to urban growth management. Then the UGB expansion memo. The memo itself was intended to be this: the city was going to conduct this analysis. The concept was there should be something that sort of narrates what that means, what's the impact of the housing needs. Analysis specifically towards UGB expansion. Lots of communities utilize that housing needs analysis as a mechanism in tandem with the buildable lands inventory and some other analyses to justify an expansion. And so in this instance, that wasn't necessarily the purpose. It was about addressing goal 10, the housing goal, but it is an analysis that has been conducted and should be reviewed for its impact. And so it really was an intent. The intent was to educate about UGB expansion rules, to place it in the Coos Bay context, to say, given Coos Bay's dynamics, here's what these analyses suggest about it specifically. And a lot of it is illustrative, so it wasn't intended to be a urban growth boundary expansion analysis, but to give a sort of bird's eye view of the sort of the concept and the landscape, and really opened up a sort of can of worms related to, again, some of this history around the city's UGB. So the next steps that are related to a UGB expansion are that you determine land need. Again, this is right out of the buildable lands inventory. You determine land supply. That's right out of the buildable lands inventory. You determine if a UGB expansion is necessary and justified. So that's a conclusion that emerges from the HNA here. That's kind of how the HNA can contribute to this. And then you have these other processes that you undertake to establish a study area, to add land to the UGB, and to do the planning and zoning for that land. So that memo just outlines those steps. So what emerged from this process is a couple of options for council. Obviously, you'll see the third option is really that council can do what it would like to do, but here are the alternatives that have emerged at this point. So council can move to adopt a resolution accepting the draft project in its entirety for compliance with the DLCD grant. Council can follow the recommendation by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission moved to adopt the housing needs analysis by resolution, except for amendments to section 7.9. This is the urban growth management sections, and adopt the ordinance adopt by ordinance the comprehensive plan amendments that are related to the draft 2022 HNA, so those that are not section 7.9 regarding growth management. Then rather than accepting the draft preliminary urban growth boundary expansion memo as informational and advisory for further evaluation with a decision on each by January 10th of 2024. So again, building in this kind of time frame that the Planning Commission thought that the city really should prioritize some resolution to this question. Pursuing this would mean a continuance to March 7th, just in order to prepare the ordinances necessary for that. And then, of course, the third option is really in a nutshell that the council can and should do what they feel is right, which could be a combination of certain elements of the other options. They could move to the 7th and ask staff to proceed with certain adjustments and then direct us to bring something to the 7th and have that in place and prepared for hopefully some further action. So that's staff's presentation as an overview of where we're at with the housing needs analysis, and look forward to council's deliberation and the public's comments. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jacob. Anything else, Carolyn, before I open the public hearing? Does council have any questions for Jacob or Carolyn before I open the public hearing? All right, so I'm going to open the public hearing regarding the housing needs analysis. You got a short version, believe it or not, of what's been going on. We have quite a bit of context here. This was taken to the Planning Commission, came to the council, referred back to the Planning Commission. So we've gone through this a few times, and we're back here again, hopefully to come up with a conclusion how to move forward. Anyway, with that being said, anyone would like to come forth and make a comment? All right, hearing none, we will close the public comments. And council, who wants to go first to address this or talk about it, or I can do it, or however you want to go?
Yeah, I'll start with my bit. I think other areas of it will be covered. My primary issue with the outcome, and it's not with the creators of the report, it's just a model that's in common use, and that's what's used for the needs analysis, is to determine if you have adequate amounts of land, you also have to assume the density of what will be constructed. The way that's accomplished, as I recall from reading the report and what I'm looking at, is they use what's called a Bjelland housing model. The way that functions is it's a model for predicting not only housing needs but housing developments in terms of density, and it's the function of it, which can work good in areas that are of more common geography, is that it dissociates the local factors from the predictions of housing development. And the intent there is to follow kind of what the market is doing as it progresses, not the historical development of a region. And that can work in areas that have comparable cities. For Coos Bay's sake, there are no cities of comparable size on the coast of Oregon. So if you use that model, you're going to be predicting densities that are based on cities that have flat buildable land. And we don't have the same land to develop that density of housing. But again, in the Bjelland model, they remove all local factors so that they can use the averages of other cities of similar size. And it can make sense in some ways, but for our sake and purposes, it doesn't. The other cities that are like that at most have a river nearby. Otherwise, it's places like Pendleton, it's fairly flat. Dallas, Oregon, fairly flat. So that in itself will impact how much space we need by the virtue of the comparables being substantially different in their ability to develop density.
So, anyone else want to jump in, or you just want me to go forward? All right, so there's been a presentation on how we can adopt and accept these things, but I also know that that we can also do another one where we accept the hearing-ready analysis report. We don't have to do anything else. That's it. I'm not saying that this report doesn't have some good data in it. It does, and it can be used. In fact, the city manager has already used some of the data in it. This analysis has some good data. But when this first came to us, and we were all shocked because we said there was enough buildable lands in this area, and the housing needs analysis, I was taken back, and we all were. And so we pushed back, and then it went back to the Planning Commission. Since that time, this report has been adjusted because of more information. Information from Al Johnson, Bill Greil, Crystal Soji. Al Johnson's data in here, if you haven't had a chance, I really think you need to go through and read it. I commend him. He was a land use attorney. There's many pages and time that went into this. If we would have gotten this information, it would have cost us thousands. And it was addressed by LCOG, but I still don't think it was thorough enough. I still think it's incomplete. I think there's more information that can be gleaned from this. So I think we should just accept this hearing and this report, but not do anything else. As far as the UGB goes, I really don't agree with the synopsis and projection that they're going. And another thing, we can just acknowledge it and do nothing more. I believe that we and the county planner, Jill Rolfe, and I think Chelsea, and maybe if we can get a couple of volunteers, go and talk about how we can change this. And this can be changed by taking the UGB and adapting it into an urban growth area. And we don't need to go through all that data to begin with. I think those are the first steps we take. Then we start addressing the rest of it. And this has been addressed and accepted and agreed upon by Jill Rolfe, the county planner. And I think we have our city planner, and those two can start working this out. This is going to take some time, but we got to get the county to buy into it, and then the city has to agree to it, and then we can move forward. So I think that's how we move on that process. So with that being said, I think the current draft building lands analysis and housing needs is a good working document, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And there's already been changes from the first time, as I already mentioned. I know it's better than the other one, 2020, but I think we're still premature in adopting this. And we can go through some different instances and scenarios. Also, the legislature could possibly change some things that could change how we look at things and how we adopt things. I know that has been addressed also by LCOG, but I still think there's a possibility of unknowns out there that we don't know. And then we can go ahead and finalize this plan if we want to. But we can use it. I just don't think we need to adopt it.
What gets us to the point where we're going to meet the criteria of the grant?
You actually have met the criteria of the grant by holding this meeting and having the information presented to you. I do agree that you should accept it at that stage. We did hear at the Housing Summit, the most recent Housing Summit, from DOCD staff that there are potential changes coming from the legislature in the H&A process. As to the fact that, let's say you don't adopt it, the fact is that we're using the 2020 H&A, and our current housing production strategy, which is underway, is based on the 2020 document. The mayor is correct. I have used and shared information from the 2022 document, which not only shows that there is a current housing shortage of, I believe, 450 some homes, but we have an additional projected shortage of more around the same number in the next 20 years. But it also states that there's a 77% of the projected housing needs to be in multifamily, which is part of the basis and the argument for the multi-unit property tax exemption program.
Yeah, so we're going to be bringing that up for discussion. And also, if I understand correctly, the 2020 housing needs analysis, and we went ahead on a 2022, and normally it's an 8-year span before we do another plan. This was brought up, Carolyn decided that this needed to be addressed because we're looking at this 450-unit complex that went from modular homes to stick homes. Well, now that has, at this point, is still in the process of being designed. And so I think, again, we don't know where that's at. So I think there's some variables, unknowns, and I think we're premature if we adopt this. Accepting it would be fine, but that's all I think we should do is accept it, or accept the hearing, ready analysis, and report. Either way, I think it accomplishes the same thing.
Isn't option 1 accepting it? It says in there, move to adopt resolution accepting the draft project for compliance.
I don't think we need to
I
do
don't
any of
think
that.
we're adopting the resolution. The mayor, and we asked the question of the representative from DLCD. And what we were concerned is making sure we met the obligations of the grant. And it was our understanding that it could be hearing ready. And to Roger's point, the fact that we have held this hearing tonight makes us, we've met the obligations of the grant. And so I thank LCOG and Carolyn and the staff for all the work they've done. I just think that there's so many things that could potentially change over this next year or two that I am a proponent of accepting that it's hearing ready, but not adopting it formally.
This is Carolyn. Would you want to take a look at more towards the end of the resolution, and maybe Nicole could weigh in here on the identification of the intent. That was the intent of the resolution, was that you were just accepting it for purposes of the grant, and you were not adopting the actions that it had indicated could be done.
Have you guys read the resolution? Because I agree with Caroline. It pretty much says we're just accepting it to meet the grant requirements.
Agreed.
We could, but I mean, we could, I guess, but I don't understand. I mean, we could accept the resolution. I mean, we can just make it more general. I mean, if that's going to make things better, but it doesn't change the fact that we're just accepting this as a document for information. We're not doing anything else. So.
That would be correct, Mayor. However, when we wrap up the grant and send this off to DLCD, I need to have something to show them that, an instrument of some kind to show them that you've had this conversation, you've come to this conclusion. If you prefer not to do a resolution, you could do a minute action. I think the resolution is written I believe it's fairly clear that you are accepting it for the purposes of the grant, not for implementation.
So if we accept this draft, if we accept this resolution, we don't have this coming back to us, right? We're done.
No, you're done.
And there's no other action that needs to be taken?
No.
All right. So as far as so is that one motion? And the UGB thing, we need to, I don't agree how to proceed with that by any means. So we're not tied to that also? Is that correct?
You're not tied to that, no.
All right. So how do you want to proceed?
I would just step in here and add, we did not assign a number to this resolution. If you so choose to move forward with that, it would be 23-03.
20-3?
23-03.
Okay. Okay, how does everyone feel about it, accepting the resolution?
I'd move that we accept the report, accept that the public hearing has been completed for the purposes of fulfilling the requirements of the grant.
Second?
Okay, been moved and second to accept the report.
Because we'll live without putting a resolution on it, yeah.
Pardon?
I didn't say anything on the resolution part, I was just making sure we're okay.
Okay. So you're just going to accept the report, and we're not going to do your motion doesn't include accepting the resolution, right?
Nope.
All right. Does everyone understand it?
So Carolyn, this will provide you what you need?
Well, I'd like to go back through the grant agreement because I believe they wanted a resolution.
My understanding, Carolyn, I hate to interrupt, but I think Roger stated that he met with DLCD and this does meet the requirement.
Jake's still up there.
Well,
Okay.
we have received an interpretation from Sean Edging, which specifically says, and I'll quote, "In other words, there's no obligation to adopt these items as part of the grant agreement, provided you submit the draft H&A and preliminary UGB analysis when they are complete. That shall be fully sufficient for the grant agreement." I don't believe it matters whether you do it by resolution or you do it by vote, because the minutes will show your vote.
Okay.
Well, if you're going to go that direction, I would request on the minutes would be very specific to your motion, and I think that would be very important.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second before us. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Carolyn, thank you. Jacob, thank you. I also want to thank Al Johnson, Bill Greil, and Chris Lasoci for all participating in this. There was a lot of time and effort by everybody, probably not any more than LCOG, and thank you for taking those comments and interpreting them and putting them in the draft plan that we have. So, okay. Now we'll move on for, so the UGB, the Planning Commission made sure, I watched the Planning Commission meeting, they were emphatic that we move forward with the urban growth boundary analysis, or urban growth boundary item as soon as possible. They want us to try to get this complete in a year. I don't know if that's even possible because there's a lot of things that need to happen. But I would like to put that on notice that we move forward. I think it's also in our goals. So I mean, from what my understanding and me meeting with Chelsea, Jim Hosley also met with Jill, excuse me. And since we got Chelsea on board, I would advocate that she meet with Jill and find out the necessary steps to move forward as they see it and see if we can get this thing going. Does everyone agree? Lucinda? Sarah? All right. Thank you. Okay, consideration of approval to undergo server upgrade, and that is Nicole.
Yes,
Mr.
thank
Mayor,
you.
I apologize for interrupting. I appreciate you moving the agenda so that I could participate in those two, the last two motions that we had. I'm going to have to excuse myself. I'm at a conference, and so I just wanted to thank everyone for the flexibility.
Thanks for participating, Lucinda. Have a good conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Nicole?
Yes, thank you. The City of Coos Bay has a rotating schedule for replacement of technology equipment, which could include things such as workstations, servers, wireless networks, firewall switches, things like that. These servers are not necessarily up for upgrade yet. However, we've implemented several projects which have put a lot of draw on those servers. One of those is pretty significant. It's the body camera vehicle system we have at the police department. That data gathering is being uploaded to those servers, or intended to be uploaded to those servers on a regular and ongoing basis, and we have had some challenges with that over the last several months. One way to overcome that is to look at the server's capacity and processing, and in doing so, we've determined that those need to be replaced in order to accommodate handling that video footage on a regular basis. The cost for this project is large enough that it requires us to go through a procurement process, and one of the first steps that you can kind of do in that process is look to see if there are other agencies that are sitting out available have agreements that are sitting out there available for others to kind of attach to, and a location we can do that is Oregon Buys. It's a procurement site for the state. And there was a agreement out there with an education district. I was able to get a quote under that agreement. The quote that we received from our consultant and under that agreement is both from Dell. They were able to look, Dell did both quotes, and our consultant's agreement came just barely under 700. So we're able to walk the path of recommending without going through a full request for proposals. So what you have before you is the request. This would include 5 servers. This will allow us to segregate and handle the video footage in a much more efficient manner. That will also free up that network efficiency for the rest of staff. We are all noticing some lags and downtime. So we are asking for approval of the hardware and the labor associated to put this project to completion, not to exceed $158,474.
Comments or questions?
Just to clarify for the public purposes, we've had body cameras and dash cams for a long time. We're just upgrading the system for the efficiency of staff, correct?
Correct.
So this is installation on the servers. This is total.
This would be 5 new servers. We will segregate out the police video, so that will kind of help with the latency of the actual whole network. And also meet CJIS requirements. There's a lot that goes to operating in their environment. So,
any other questions?
So the servers that are being replaced cannot be utilized elsewhere? Or?
So you probably know, but maybe not everyone out there knows. We do have a emergency kind of backup plan that we could stand up a center, and we are looking at can we repurpose those to be, as a backup and or part of that emergency center. So, we're hopeful that we can do something with that.
So you won't know until after you get this installed and see if those will work?
I mean, we'd probably know before then, but yeah, our focus would be getting the new servers up and running.
Okay. Comments? Anyone else? Questions? No? How do you like to proceed, Council?
I move we approve the server upgrade project, including the purchase of hardware and associated costs not to exceed $158,474.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the server upgrade project. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it passes. Approval of 2024-2025 council goals. Roger.
Yes, earlier this year, the council met in a work session specifically to discuss and deliberate on goals for the next 2-year period. What you have before you is a summary and listing of those goals and some tasks that go along with them. It's before you tonight for your consideration of adoption.
So for everyone's understanding, we had a goal-setting session. We do this every 2 years. We had some existing goals and then some new goals that we've incorporated into this that staff has put together. I think they've done a pretty good job. That doesn't mean this is set in stone by any means. It can come and it'll be changing because this council has a tendency to keep adding things on. And but it gives us a synopsis. It kind of gives us a guideline of where we're at and where we're going. And so I really enjoyed this being done in the past and look forward to this being done now. So anyway, any other comments, anyone? Do you want to accept them as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2025 council goals.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2023 and 2025 council goals. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, we'll get back on track now. Presentations, Marshfield High School update by Harper Thompson. Won't be able to be here this evening, so we'll go down to the semi-annual presentation by the Coos Bay Downtown Association.
Hi, good evening. My name is Holly Boardman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Coos Bay Downtown Association. And I'm so honored to be here tonight to talk to you about our semi-annual report to the City of Coos Bay. I'd like to welcome, of course, the City of Coos Bay, our citizens, co-workers, friends, and family, downtown Front Street and Coos Bay Village supporters. The mission of the Coos Bay Downtown Association is to foster the development of downtown Coos Bay by strengthening local business, encouraging new business, and connecting the community through partnerships. The Coos Bay Downtown Association is committed to promoting the Coos Bay area as an attractive place to live, work, and visit by continually enhancing the quality of life of the downtown area. Our vision is to advocate for and support local businesses to thrive by being a vibrant downtown that promotes healthy living and provides opportunities for our community and guests to shop, eat, mingle, and explore. This evening, I will be going over our 4 committees: organization, design, economic vitality, and promotions. I will be introducing you to our board members and going over a few of our accomplishments. Seem to be working. Let's see if maybe we can just get someone to click next on this next slide. First, we have board member Beth Clarkson with Checkerberry's Flowers and Gifts. Beth is our current president. She's also the chair of the organization committee, and she does also help out on the design and promotions committee. In addition to all of that, she is the editor of our newsletter, and Checkerberry's Flowers and Gifts donated a computer to the farmers market. I couldn't do my job without Beth. The Coos Bay Downtown Association has been run with her help for over 21 years, and we greatly appreciate all that she does for us. The Farmers Market was in its 22nd season. It ran from May 4th through October 26th. We did have returning market manager Melissa Hassart, who will be back this year as well. She was instrumental in getting grants and sponsorships and starting new healthy cooking programs for the Farmers Market this season. We did open on time and we ran the whole season. We did have the SNAP match, so if you have food stamps, you can come to the market and take whatever amount you'd like off of your food stamp card, just like if you're at the grocery store. But we did have a program called Double Up Food Bucks, which would match up to the first $20 in free fruits and vegetables for people that had food stamps. In addition, we wrote another grant, and it was actually called the CBDA Basic Staple Match, and we matched an additional $10 for staples such as nuts and grains, honey, cheese, and the like. So you could come and take $20 off your food stamp card and have $50 to spend in the market. So as you can see, this was just instrumental in helping people in our community. We also had healthy cooking coupons, and this was for anybody. You don't have to be on food stamps. Anybody in the community could come. We had chefs create recipes, and then you got a $5 off coupon for a couple of the ingredients in the recipes. So for example, one time we had a chef make peach salsa, and so on that day, you could get $5 towards either peaches or $5 toward tomatoes. So it was a really great program for everyone in the community. The CBDA Food Accessibility Program, including SNAP, Double Up Food Bucks, Basic Match, and Healthy Cooking, was very successful for 2022. Between the customer distribution and the farmer redemption, we were able to help our food poor community with $155,571 during this season. Our average vendor attendance is about 70 per week. We start the farmers market the first Wednesday in May, and we go to the last Wednesday in October. So in May, we start off around 60, 65 vendors. During our peak season, we have about 90 vendors, and then towards the end of October, it does start to taper off a little bit. So even though we're in a smaller community, we're actually one of the largest farmers markets in the state of Oregon. And this year, we were very blessed to be sponsored by many different businesses: Junior Alvarado Trucking Inc., Jenny's Shoes, Laney Farms, Bigfoot Beverages, South Coast Family Dentistry, Coos Food Co-op, Oregon Health Insurance Marketplace, Crystal Tie-Dye, E.L. Edwards Realty, Zipley Fiber, Wildfire Public House, New Horizons, Bicoastal Media, U.S. Bank, and So It Goes Coffee House. And also I would like to thank the city for cleaning the streets, turning on the power in the morning, and then helping with picking up the garbage for the day. These are just some of the kind of fun pictures of the market, all the beautiful fresh produce and the flowers, and then there's jewelry artisans and soaps and candles, and if you haven't been, I encourage you to come. It's really fun. And then we have board member Dana Weber, who's with Banner Bank. Dana is also on the organization committee. Banner Bank has been a long-standing sponsor of our Santa event. In addition to sponsoring the Santa event, they did also provide all of the free cookies for the Santa event. Dana and the organizations committee were responsible during COVID to come up with a program called the Dues Relief Match Program. And during this time, we helped struggling businesses pay for half of their membership dues so they could continue to be a member of the CBDA. So this program paid for 50% of the bronze and silver membership levels. And Banner Bank is also the sponsor of our new website for $3,200. The organization committee is working hard on a new comprehensive volunteer program. Last year we had a total of 85 members. We are also working on a new website with KDOC. We received a full sponsorship of the website from Banner Bank in the amount of $3,200. We rolled over the Coquille Tribal and Community Funds grant for the hand washing stations for the farmers market in the amount of $1,300. We applied for and received the Coquille Tribal Community Fund grant for the Double Up Food Bucks program for $3,500. We applied for and received the Three Rivers Casino grant for the Food Accessibility Program in the amount of $11,000. That was one of the programs I was telling you that helped with the CBDA staple match and the healthy cooking coupons as well. We applied for and received the federal USDA Farmers Market grant in the amount of $20,000. We applied for and received the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department Revitalization Grant for 161 Day Avenue on behalf of Heidi Sauce to revitalize the building in the Front Street District for $200,000. The organization committee is currently working on the new logo and is also responsible for putting on the annual membership meeting. So the Coos Bay Downtown Association applied with the help of Heidi Sauce to get this revitalization grant for 161 Day Avenue, which is in Front Street. It was a $200,000 grant, and this will go to revitalize the building according to the Secretary of Interior Standards of Historic Restoration. It is in full swing, and we are working away on progress reports and reimbursement requests, and it's going great. There will be 4 commercial units and 2 residential units. So it's just, as you know, we need to bring housing to the area, and to have 2 new residential units in the Front Street District is just great. Heidi has a lot of experience in this work, and as you can see, the building in the center, that's 999 North Front Street, she revitalized that property, and it's actually the Oregon Main Street winner of the Excellence on Main Award for Adaptive Reuse. Then we have board member Julie Graham with Bicoastal Media. She's the co-chair of the promotions committee. And every year she is down there at Shop Small Saturday at Jenny's Shoes hosting our Shop Small commemorative mug exchange. She is working on the Blackberry Arts Festival and the Bay Area Fun Festival and all of our promotions year round. The promotions committee puts on great events year-round. We had approximately 1,000 to 1,200 kids trick-or-treating with their families in downtown Front Street and Coos Bay Village. The community was Glad to have our festivals back in person, and they were a huge success with great attendance. We held the Blackberry Arts Festival and the Bay Area Fun Festival. Holiday open houses and Shop Small Saturday were a great way to kick off the holiday shopping tradition in our footprint. Santa Comes to Town was great to have back in person, along with the tree lighting and the showing of the movie Elf with the sockball fight. So if you don't know, during the sockball fight, we ask people to bring in new rolled up pairs of socks. And during the snowball fight scene, we have a sockball fight. And then all of the socks are collected and donated to local homeless shelters. And the reindeer roundup was a ton of fun and got a lot of new people into our businesses' doors. And we have board member Steve Schneiderman, co-chair of the promotions committee and vice president with U-Haul. Here's just some fun photos of one of the children sitting down with Santa and giving him his wish list. Some kids that actually won one of the weekly reindeer roundup prizes, Santa at the Egyptian, the free cookies and cider at the visitor center, and then the tree lighting. And then we have board member Doug Woolsey, who's the chair of the design committee, and he hangs the seasonal banners. He's with Les Schwab. And the design committee displayed and hung the seasonal banners. We had the beautiful flower baskets arrived in May to highlight downtown. If you didn't know, the bike rack project was completed last year. The CBDA purchased the design from an artist in Tennessee, Duncan McDaniel. We received 3 grants, $5,000 from the Ford Family Foundation, $2,500 from Jordan Cove, and $2,000 from the Coos Rotary Foundation. The CBDA also funded this project. Marshfield High School manufactured the racks, and the city installed them. The design committee was also very busy with a new project. It was the utility art box project. We had 3 phases with multiple boxes at each location. There were 15 locations. Sherwin-Williams graciously donated all of the paint and all of the painting supplies for phase 1 and phase 2, so it was a tremendous help. Pacific Power sponsored phase 1 and phase 2, and Bayshore Paints donated the remaining gallons of paint for phase 3. The CBDA contributed to this project as well, and all sources combined totaled $7,300. They were all ocean themes with similar color palettes. And another great thing about this project was it was all local talent. So all of these artists were local. Thank you to the wonderful artists, Emma Meyer, Kayleen Bennett, Chance Barnes, Kel Smith, Megan Gray, Mariah Smith, Alice Keating, Laura Noel, Monica Dethridge, Bailey McMahon, and Shayla Van Tassel. And then a big thank you to Josie Keating with Josie's Art Lab for all of her work on this project. We knew we wanted to do this project, but we wanted some expertise from an artist, so we brought Josie in, and she was just able to help us out tremendously with the call to artists, what type of paint we needed, how to get the paint and supplies to the artists, and how to work a big major art project like this. So we thank her. She did an amazing job, and we kind of stole her, and now she's on the design committee. So. And then I give my best wishes to the Community Coalition of Empire. They are going to be doing a very similar project that is going to be based off of what we did, and so we're helping them put out their call to artists, and we're trying to get people interested in doing this project in Empire. So we can't wait to see all the beautiful artwork that is going to be done. Here's just a few more of the amazing outcomes of the Utility Art Box project. Then we have board member Jill Rasmussen with the Egyptian Theater. She's on the Economic Vitality Committee and the treasurer. We just held our annual membership meeting on January 19th, 2023. We had speakers Mayor Joe Benetti on recent achievements and new developments happening in Coos Bay. Heidi Sauce spoke on Front Street revitalization. I spoke on the CBDA's committee year in review, introduction of board members and accomplishments, and Beth Clarkson, our president, spoke on the CBDA on participating and volunteering in the CBDA. We held our annual elections, and 4 board members were re-elected: Dana Weber, Julie Graham, Katie Granado, and your very own Stephanie Kilmer. We did give out our annual awards, and Years of Service was won by Beth Clarkson, and this was, she finally got it. She would never let us give it to her, and she finally, after 21 years, it took 21 years for her to get the Years of Service award. She is just amazing, and she's always there to help out every single day in all sorts of different ways, and we really couldn't do it without her. And then we had Volunteer of the Year, which was Josie Keating for all of her help on the Utility Art Box project. And the Partnership Award went to Sherwin-Williams for all of their help and all of their knowledge and donating all of the paint and painting supplies for Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Utility Art Box project. Here's our winners, Beth, Josie, and Sherwin-Williams at the annual membership meeting. And then we have board member Stephanie Kilmer, who is our city liaison. She's with Southwest Oregon Regional Airport, and she's the chair of the Economic Vitality Committee. And we also have to thank Stephanie in kind of getting our ducks in a row and helping us work on our new logo. So we're in the process of it. We're in the home stretch of that. And then Economic Vitality, we are working on implementing the Travel Oregon and RDI Economic Vitality Plan for downtown Coos Bay that was completed in 2020 from the Travel Oregon grant. And we are also working on implementing the CVDA's strategic plan. And then we have board member Katie Granata with South Coast Family Dentistry. She's the co-chair of the promotions committee. She was in charge of the theme and decorating the trailer for the Drive by Santa in 2021. She also came up with the reindeer roundup idea. They are a Santa sponsor, and Katie works with the promotions committee to run the Blackberry Arts Festival and the Bay Area Fun Festival and all of our events year round. And then we have board member Jamar Ruff with Coosehead Food Co-op. He's on the organization committee, and they were also a sponsor of the Coos Bay Farmers Market. And he, in conjunction with Stephanie, is also helping us get on track to get the logo done. So between the two of them, we're going to have a new logo. And then Oregon
When
Main
do you think that's going to go before the board?
Next Monday. It's all ready. Yep, I think that's the final stage. Yeah. And then we had the Oregon Main Street Impact Study come out. And so for volunteers, the total network contribution was 6,920 hours. The average community contribution is 230 hours, and we are right in there. The value contributed back to Oregon communities is $205,884. Statewide, 166 jobs were created. Statewide community investments, building upgrades, $1,411,350 plus. Public improvements, $3,459,500 plus, and housing units, more than 13. And next we have board member Jay Andrews with Bigfoot Beverages. He is on the promotions committee. They're a sponsor of the Coos Bay Farmers Market, and he helped create our wonderful farmers market signs and posters. And we have board member Madge Osborne with Pacific Pregnancy Clinic. She's on the organization committee, and she's our secretary, and I'm so grateful that she takes our minutes for us. She does a wonderful job. And with the support of the city, local business owners, community members, and volunteers, we are making a difference in downtown Coos Bay. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Holly?
Holly, can you talk a little bit about the collaboration that you've done with North Bend's Main Street program?
Yeah, so, we are a part of Oregon Main Street, which is all the Main Street communities in Oregon, and all of us are here to help each other. There's not any competition, and every Main Street, whenever anyone has a project, the first thing we do is say, hey, does anyone know how to do this? Have you done this before? Can you help us with this? So when I created the volunteer handbook and guidelines and all those things, they're like, no one else has it. Can we have it? I'm like, yes, you can have it. All you need to do is change your information. And so we do this. We help each other. And so, yeah, Stephanie's just been so great to work with. We were up at the Oregon Main Street Network Conference together, and we went and attended a bunch of different things together and had a really good time. And we're constantly going back and forth with what each of us are doing, and we just have a really great relationship. And I'm so happy to have her be a part of Oregon Main Street. So.
And didn't you do a program with her that was a business help?
Yes.
In the last 6 months?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we've done a couple through the chamber, their business events, and so they've asked us to talk on certain different topics. One of them was holiday preparation and how to get businesses ready for the holidays and how to get businesses in people's doors and using social media and other avenues as well. So we've been presenters a couple different times together, kind of collaborating together on those projects.
And then just one more on your dues relief program. How has that translated to member retention? I mean, are your numbers growing?
We kept all of our numbers, which was unheard of during COVID. I mean, most places completely shut down, didn't have any membership renewals. And so that program kept our members at the level that we had them at. So that program literally kept us going with our membership.
And are they still members today?
Yes.
That's all I have.
So I was fortunate enough to be at, what was it, the Main Street group that was down here that oversaw Heidi's project?
Oh, that was the statewide restoration type group. Yes, there was about 9 of them.
Just say it with authority.
It was a really long name, but they were all from different aspects of restoration for Oregon.
Which oversaw this project and the grant, if I understand correctly. Anyway, they were very impressed what was going on, and Holly did a great explanation of what was going on and how things have been and how Front Street is moving on. And during the Downtown Association meeting also where Heidi spoke, I think it was important to let you know that she told any business there that she'd be glad to work with any one of them to help with a grant. So Heidi seems to have a knack of how getting this done, and she was going to give her expertise to help, and she also volunteered Holly, which she said she would be glad to do.
Absolutely.
So anyway, it was nice to see that.
Yeah.
Any comments, anyone? So this is a semi-annual report they do. We have a 3-year agreement with them, and and we'll see them in 6 months unless you have a question, Roger.
Well, I was just going to share that one of your now adopted goals
Correct.
was to evaluate different wayfinding sign options.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest maybe the council approve a wayfinding committee to evaluate that. I have discussed that option not only with you, Mayor, but Councilors Kilmer, Stevens, and DeNovo would like to serve on that committee. And then along with 2 staff members, Chelsea Schnabel and Nicole Rutherford. And then Holly has also indicated that Beth Clarkson, Dee Snyderman, and herself would also serve on behalf of the Downtown Association.
All right. I'm glad they're stepping forward to do that, and that is one of our goals and been discussed many times. So we have new wayfinding signs in, what, a couple months? No. All right, so...
everything will be smoother.
All
Been
right.
working on
I have
that
a
logo
question.
for what, 10
Yeah, Rob.
years?
So another one of our council goals is to partner with the Coos Bay Downtown Association for the 150th birthday. Has that got underway yet? Or?
We're
That'll be,
starting discussions, yeah.
Right, and I think that'll be another committee that will come back shortly to put together. I think your council rules, though, does state that committees need to be formed at the very least by a motion and approval of the council.
So can I have a motion to approve Roger's recommendation, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the committee that Roger has stated. Any other comments or discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. It passes. Thank you, everyone, for stepping up and being willing to do that. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Beth. Okay, next item on the agenda is presentation, semi-annual presentation by the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. How are you?
You're wonderful. How are you, Joe?
Good.
Thank you guys so much for rearranging. I was not aware of the time change, and I apologize for that.
No, it worked out well because we arranged it to adopt, so it all worked out
Yeah,
for everybody.
I appreciate it. I am Stacy Dewater. I am this year's president of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. We were founded in 1980 as a merger of the Coos Bay and North Bend chambers. With over 530 members, the chamber's strength lies in the number and diversity of its membership. The activities of the chamber vary in response to the needs of the businesses and community. Much of our work is accomplished through the volunteered time and efforts of its members, primarily through committees, providing community leadership in the areas of economic development, government affairs, leadership development, workforce and education, ambassadors, natural resources, transportation, and many more items. I'm going to go through and just kind of highlight what we've been working on and things that are to come. In general operations, we had a mix of supporting our existing programs and running with many new services offered to our businesses. Things like the business builders that you were talking about with Holly, where she came and presented. Those were short sessions intended to offer our membership information on current subjects important to their business operations. That monthly set began on September 6th. We have introduced a tiered sponsorship program to our members so that they're able to budget their support for chamber activities. The social gathering is a new activity that we have also introduced. It is just a time where a local business is able to showcase where they're at, and we have open communication for our membership. And so we just say, come and have a conversation with someone and spark a new idea. And so there's no program, there's just an opportunity to get together with like-minded people. The Chamber Minute program continues with bicoastal media and the newspaper, using 26 articles during this period. In events, we had our 30th Economic Outlook Forum on December 9th. Our focus this year was the transition of where we as a community have been and where we are poised to become. Mayor Benetti came and set the perfect tone, relating his experience as a businessman here for 40 years, or more than 40 years, what he had seen and where he sees it going to today. Other participants filled the picture with our tomorrow. John Mitchell gave his 30th excellent presentation and, as always, included the poem. The face-to-face was well attended. We had our 2023 Community Awards Banquet on the 28th of January. We returned to the last Saturday of January again for our banquet. There was energetic entertainment from LTOB's Matilda cast, and if you missed it, you missed something really great, and hopefully you've seen or are seeing Matilda. Our in-person event had over 200 people in participation, honoring the Citizen of the Year, Pam Plummer, Business of the Year, South Coast Family Dentistry, with over 21 votes. They did a smash-up job. And Chamber Member of the Year, Steve Nye, together with the President's Award for Tim Slater, the Community Award, Frontline Educators, our teachers, and recognizing the current and past year's Chamber Board. It was a wonderful night of celebration and enjoying each other's company. I had a great time. Only lost my shoe one time coming up the stairs.
Nobody knows.
Our Wednesday Business Connection season for 2022-2023 opened with Senator Dick Anderson sharing his outlook for the upcoming election and 2023 legislative session. That was followed with a series of candidate forums for County Sheriff, County Commissioner Position 3, State Representative Districts 1 and 9, and the Coos County Jail Funding Levy. The year ended with a review of both the elections process in Coos County, which was super insightful, the superintendents for both Coos Bay and North Bend schools, and development plans for the Port's Terminal 1 project. WBC is a great program finally being reestablished to an in-person mode. If any of you have a subject or issue that you'd like to hear more about at WBC, we are always open for that phone call. Leadership Coos for 2022-2023 season kicked off its full class in on September 13th. The program runs from September through May and guarantees that whether you have lived here your whole life or just moved here, you will find places, people, services that you had never known anything about. It has been a wonderful way to find out about our community. In transportation, Ron Cooch is the chair of the committee. He puts together a program of featured speakers and field trips to give the members the best insights to transportation issues, solutions, and other opportunities. In our legislative action team, they were actively working and involved in each of the WBC candidate forums. They created a lot of the questions and in multiple cases being the MC for the forums themselves. During August, they were part of the candidate endorsement interviews, and prior to the elections, the LAT team worked with the Oregon State Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committee defends small business. As we look into the 2023 legislative session, LAT will be regularly involved with representative video conferences done jointly with the college, working issues through the Oregon State Chamber of Commerce and direct contacts with our legislators. Beyond the legislator, your LAT is actively participating in many other local issues that make a difference for all of us. Our ambassadors enjoyed a growth of membership with a focus on ribbon cuttings, business after hours hosting, and active support of the WBC programs and promoting chamber fellowship. They are also looking at growing role in membership and support, and there is a spot for everyone on that active team. It's my favorite place. I love to go out and celebrate the new businesses or businesses that have reached a milestone. That's my favorite thing, is to walk in with the red coat and really cheer on our businesses that are having successes. In marketing and communications, we were focused on using a variety of communication methods with the membership and the community. They are also developing marketing tools to promote and grow the organization. A tremendous amount of energy is being used by our chamber board to provide more value to members and engage them in making a difference for business and community. They also look to increase production of videos for training and promotion of individual businesses. They're looking into the bylaws with a serious review of the chamber structure for effectiveness and impact. Additionally, our website is being upgraded to ensure its value and information as a source and tool to enhance business and community. These are certainly exciting times. Rick Osborne's theme for the chamber in 2022 was "A Rising Tide Lifts All Boats." In 2023, my theme is "Together We Create Opportunity."
Great theme. Comments or questions for Stacy?
You didn't solicit anybody for Dancing with the Stars.
That's because I'm here in my chamber role.
Oh, my bad. I lose track. You know how many hats we wear.
I appreciate the partnership, the working relationship we have, and the asset you are to this community. Tim, congratulations on your award. Well deserved. And so, anyone else? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I think we made it through the agenda. Rob, did I miss anything? All right. City manager's report.
I get to take that.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Good thing I was looking your way.
It is very good. It looks like it was planned almost.
It was.
So I'll start out with giving you a reminder. I think Christine sent an email today. The LOC Spring Conference is coming up, and we'd be happy to make those arrangements for you. The earlier the better, so we can get you a hotel room at the space that we'd like to get you at. But so if anyone is interested, you can check in with Christine or myself.
Yeah, we just got an email today, so probably getting back to her, because she suggested, Christine mentioned, that she's trying to make reservations at where the convention is in Seaside, so which it would be very nice for everyone, so anyway.
Yeah, so I think you can either reply to the email or give us a call, however you'd like to do it.
Okay.
I was just going to give a hopefully kind of brief update on the coordinated homeless pilot we have with the county, North Bend, and Coos Bay. So under that project, we have some kind of milestones that need to be met. The advisory board, which if we all remember, there's 2 members from each of those entities that were appointed to the advisory board. That board had contracted with Zen City, which is a marketing, surveying, kind of data gathering company, and also rural development initiatives. Zen City has helped put together a survey that we're going to push out to the community. I put a flyer there on your guys' desks. It gives a online survey option. We also have some paper surveys that we've passed out various places throughout the community so people can respond to. Zen City will gather that data and give it to us in a meaningful format so that we can use that to kind of inform the next upcoming steps. RDI is coming to us. I think we have a friend there, Jennifer Gross, who used to be here.
Yeah, she's right here.
Yeah. So she's part of that company, and they are kind of helping formulate our stakeholder conversations. So those members of our community who are providing services related to homelessness. And they will also be helping to organize a couple of town hall meetings. One will take place in North Bend and one in Coquille. So we will use the information that Zen City is gathering, what RDI is gathering from these meetings and conversations, and that will kind of be what we put together for the bones of the 5-year strategic plan. That plan needs to come back before each of the entities for your approval. That kind of guides what we do next steps with the grant dollars. The meetings, town hall meetings, are scheduled for March 6th and 7th. The 6th will be at Coquille Community Center and the 7th at North Bend Community Center. The timing is from 11 to 1:30. We'll have some additional information that'll go out for the public to know about that. Another milestone is a hiring of a director of the coordinated office. So it's going to be kind of the person who keeps all of the pieces moving with all of the different entities in the community, working together for this kind of focused goal. That position has been listed through Cardinal Services. We're hoping to get some good options there and get somebody on staff. They will be really helpful during this period where we're creating that strategic plan. And then I think the last thing I would just say is the goal is to get that strategic plan developed and ready for presentation in late April. We need to have it ready for our first reporting to the state in May. So moving away from that topic, we underwent a telephone system transfer today with just a few little bumps in the road. We were able by end of day to get to a better place. Obviously, focus being on the dispatch center. 911 lines were operational the full time, but we did have some bumps as far as being able to transfer phone calls around. So we're working on it. We do need to get some information out to the public. Now that we have the extensions all set, we'll get that updated on the website and things like that. And then last, we had a meeting that was good sound and good video. We still have some video work. We have some questions out to a couple people. How can we make this space more visible to the people who are attending remotely? So we're still working on that. Obviously, microphones are still awaiting arrival. I'm expecting a couple months still. Yesterday, we did get the hearing devices, so we are able to provide those if there are people that need to be in the space with some extra hearing assistance. So, and I think that was it.
So how about the volume or the speakers online, hearing them?
So today is actually the first. We've had several meetings since the new system has been set up for the audio. This is the first meeting you could actually hear them speaking. So the volume is not quite right. I did send a message on that, but at least we heard them.
Okay.
We had the LOC regional meeting here this last week, and then also the Parks Commission meeting, and we struggled with both of those, getting their sound to come through the system if they were attending remotely. So progress, it's been slow, but we're getting there.
Okay. Any questions for Nicole? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Council comments. Sarah, we'll start with you. Anything this evening?
The online experience was great. Thank you, Nicole, for your work towards that. No other comments from me tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Drew.
All right. Just a reminder, we're in the legislative session, and to watch the bills going through. Our discussion about the housing needs analysis earlier during the Chamber of Commerce event, the LCD was there and talked about House Bill 2889. That would override our ability to argue with the housing needs analysis. The state will create a model and appeal will not be an option. So good that we're doing this while we are. They said as much from the stage when I asked them. That was the intent. Not vague, really. But, yeah, fun stuff. And we, Senator Anderson for our area, I'm not sure he recognized that part of it, but he is one of the sponsors. So if you get a chance to talk to him about it, might be one to talk about. That's it.
All right. Rob.
The Coos Bay Library Board met last week, and since the board chair's in our audience tonight, I figure I better give some library statistics. For the month of January, the library had 8,147 total monthly visits, and 19,700 items were checked out. Of those, only 633 were digital downloads, and they also had 9,311 wireless connections. They put on 40 programs with program attendance of 975. And I don't know if people are aware, but they have a community fridge now where library patrons can come in and get free fruits and vegetables. And for the month of January, that served 1,040 people and 407 households. So the library continues to be a vital program in our area. And then secondly, as Holly mentioned in her presentation, the Community Coalition of Empire has opened up the call to artists for the Empire utility box projects. The theme is Historic Empire with a focus on the waters, and artists are encouraged to use the completed Empire mural for their inspiration or just come up with their own inspiration. If artists want to submit a project, they can either mail it to CCE at P.O. Box 3452, Coos Bay, or email it to moss_joanne@yahoo.com, or they can drop it off at the Star of Hope Activity Center at 657 Newmark in Coos Bay. And the submission deadline for phase 1 is March 17th. And that's all I have.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
Stephanie.
I don't have really too much. I just wanted to thank our presenters for bearing with us as we moved stuff around on the agenda. I appreciate Holly and Stacy coming in to give reports on their organizations. I think that's important, not only so that we get an update, but also for the community to know what's going on. So I appreciate you taking time. And also to see Beth here, appreciate your comments as well. And that's all I have.
All right, thanks. So I just, the road that we were talking about earlier, it's sad that the businesses had to suffer like they did. It's unfortunate, but, it's something that happens. I noticed it. There were a lot that were impacted. So thank you for your patience. I know that doesn't help a lot when you lose business, but thanks for understanding. And you don't realize it until you come back. I was out of town. I drove back, and all of a sudden I'm going down the road again. I thought, oh, this is wonderful, right? Because trying to get around the other way was very difficult for all. And I think when I was first here, I think wasn't 101 two-way on one road. And that was interesting. I don't think that would work by any means today. Anyway. I also want to take the time to thank Dr. Sharps for serving 16 years as a water board member. It's much appreciated. Volunteerism helps us operate in the city in all kinds of ways. Chamber and Downtown Association knows that. And also I want to thank Nicole in advance for participating tomorrow in the Battle of the Books and stepping in my place. It'll be fun and you'll enjoy it, I'm sure. Anyway, that's the end for our agenda this evening. We will have an urban renewal agency meeting, but the Coos Bay City Council meeting is at the end, and I'll go ahead and adjourn it. Thank you.
We need a couple minutes. We'll take a 5-minute break while we reset everything, and then we will come back to the meeting. Yeah, I could.